We're back live at the FSTA in New York City. Nano Nofino, Tony Cicada. We've got a special guest with us now. Of course, someone we work with over at SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. Someone a little better looking than Jeff Mans.
That's subjective. But yeah, we all agree. Just in case he's in earshot. Lisa Ann, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's great to see you guys and great to be here. A lot of fun. You know, it's funny, you and I were having a conversation last night about somebody we both mutually respect who gave you some advice that maybe you didn't listen to at first. That same person gave me advice and said, you should not fly back to Los Angeles tomorrow. You should change your flight and go the next day. You should stay and interact with everybody at the event. You're meeting so many great people. It's networking for you. And I looked at him and I said, I will take your advice and go and change my flight immediately. And I did it.
Oh, no way. Mm-hmm. I feel like I gave you that advice, too, at the end. At the end, though, after.
You gave me that advice, too. It's just great to be here. I didn't realize, how many people I was going to meet and just people getting to see. You guys all live somewhere different, so many people. So it's fun.
Go ahead.
It's interesting. I remember when the first day that you started at SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, how much has your views on fantasy sports changed since that first day that you came in the building in New York and did a show on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio?
I think one of the biggest things that I didn't even consider is it's such a new industry and it's growing so fast. But it's such an industry of incredibly cool and kind people, and everyone's helping everyone out, and everyone does spots and calls into each other's shows, and it's just like this great thing where it's not crazy competitive yet. It's still new and fun, and everyone's just doing that. So I thought, wow, I just am meeting great people.
And you're doing well in a lot of these leagues too. You've picked up fantasy sports.
Well, Adam's kind of made me competitive. For a long time.
Don't give him any credit.
Yeah, I have to give Adam credit. Because, see, I had a brother that, if I beat him at checkers and Monopoly, we wouldn't play for a while. So I knew better. So I would just throw the game and I wanted to play. But Adam doesn't allow that. And now I'm getting competitive, even against my fans on Twitter who I've never met. I'm like, man, he beat me by 7. I'm going to do a game against him again tomorrow. And, you get that obsession. You're like, okay, yeah, it's an addiction.
It's interesting. We found out that 36% of the people playing fantasy are female now. Do you see that population growing, and how can you relate to a woman playing fantasy sports?
I think it's great because it gives her and her guys something to do together. I'm sure most women that are doing it have a guy that also plays, and maybe they're competing against him or in their league together. It's smart that this industry is not allowing that to happen later. We're already starting to look at bringing more women on board and getting more women involved, and it's a great way to teach your friends sports. So I think it's neat, and I see a lot of husband and wives competing against each other, and the women can do kind of well because they don't overthink it. And they're a little bit busier, or maybe they're taking care of the kids, whatever. They tinker last minute, and the guy's been tinkering all week, and it's fun to watch that.
My poor wife, the first time she started a league with her friends.
Okay.
She didn't want to play in my leagues.
Smart.
So I promised her, this would be unfair if I kind of tell you who to pick. So go read Jamie Eisenberg and do your draft right before because I'd worked at CBS, and he writes. So she read his sleepers column.
Okay.
And she's doing her draft, and I go and look. And I'm like, who picked Ben Tate in the first round? It was 2 years ago. She's like, I did. Jamie said he was great. I'm like, oh, God. I quickly have to explain what sleepers are.
Right.
But she fixed her team. She loved it. And now she's in 2 leagues.
It's addicting. And also it allows you to watch every game, and every news matters to you. And, sports are really healthy pastime. It's something great to follow. You can make a conversation with strangers over sports. So it's cool.
It's interesting. Every once in a while, I like to go off topic, give relationship advice or something that I don't know anything about. I got to ask you, would you ever date a guy that doesn't follow sports like a congressman or a businessman where you're so sports-oriented?
It doesn't work for me. You're right. I've tried it because in L.A., no guys follow sports. It's really strange because we don't have a football team, and the only people who go to Lakers game is when they're good. No one cares about sports, so that's out. There's nothing for us to talk about, and I'm not one of those people that's like, let's go to the movies. I'm like, there's got to be a game on. Somebody's playing something right now that we can watch.
Sorry, go ahead.
So yeah, it is difficult for me. Sports, you have to be into sports. Number one thing.
Number 2, vodka soda. That's our drink. Was that just randomly because I'm like, I got an extra?
It was random.
Or is that your drink?
That's what I do. Normally my drink is just Jameson neat, right? But this is only a once a month thing. I only let myself do the Jameson neat night once a month. And tonight I'll be out, but I won't drink 2 nights in a row.
Really?
Yeah, I'm older. You know what I mean?
Come on, no, you're not.
You're much younger
older,
than me.
please.
You know what I mean? I'm not young anymore.
You stayed an extra day. You might as well. Hey, it's like a free fun
Well,
day.
we'll see what happens. There may be. I may make an exception.
You were a victim of peer pressure last night, and now you're trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, I got to pass that on.
He's never a victim. He's never a victim.
Please,
He's a roller of peer pressure.
I am not yet. Stay an extra day.
Now, you guys saw that I actually got to go to a Mets game with Zach Hampel last Tuesday, and then on Friday night he catches A-Rod's 3,000. Like, what are the chances of this sports luck for me?
This is crazy. This is one of the craziest stories. Do you have any insight into how he gets all these balls?
Well, I do, because that's why I went to the game with him. You know, I'd read his book, Watching Baseball Smarter, and I loved it. It explained, you know, when you mention the word sleepers, what his book does is it talks about all the words that if you're watching a baseball game, you would never understand unless you knew what they meant. So the glossary of the fun commentary, like this slang word, sleepers. So I love this book, and I reached out to him, and I had him as a guest on my show in January, and I asked him if he would play fantasy. He goes, well, you know, I don't really follow the baseball. I'm a ball hawker. And so I looked this up, and I'm like, well, what is this? And he said, I can take you and show you. And this just so happened to be the date that synced for us, where we were in the same place at the same time, and we could go to this Mets game. So he brings 2 hats and 2 T-shirts in his backpack. So whatever side of the stadium he's on, he appears to be a fan of that team. So it's likely they'll throw him a foul ball, or he'll be able to catch something from somebody. He also knows all the pitching matches, all the matchups, pitching, hitting, parks. So he knows what side of the park he wants to be on when what pitcher is hitting to what hitter, okay? It's so unbelievable. He brought me a glove, and he just rolls around the park. He knows the ushers, and some ushers are cool, let him go down, some don't. You know, that's part of the game, too. And he's not the only one. This is an underground society of a game inside of the game of baseball.
It's like half of it is the kind of the strategy of, like, he does this thing with a mitt that he puts together with a rubber band and lowers it to, like, get the balls. It's like a ball scoop.
He's done that, and then he just catches, and he knows where it's going to be.
That's the crazy other half. He's there, like, all right, you know how to get balls, and, like, you know, hey, you know, Johnny, throw me a ball. He's like, okay. But then the second he's caught the last 2 balls at Yankee Stadium, last one at Shea, this A-Rod's 3,000 hit. Yeah. He's just there, like, how can this guy not play fantasy?
That's what I'm trying to tell him. I'm like, you have to play fantasy. So, you know, it's fascinating. His dad was also a writer. He has a neat family story. And I'm really into people's things. Like, when I find somebody has an obsessive hobby, I get, like, really intrigued, and I have to learn everything about it, because this is what really makes the world tick, right? This is our interesting things, not just what everybody's doing. The unique things, ball hawking, like, he has 8,000 balls.
I've got to ask you then, have you ever met Adam Rona's co-host, Scott Engel?
Oh, no.
Because he has a weird obsession with guys in makeup and leather pants called
He loves Kiss.
Yeah.
He loves Kiss. You know, there's a little mini Kiss band that I bet you we could afford to pitch in and have them come and sing at a party. I know none of us can afford Kiss, the real Kiss, but we have a mini Kiss situation. Let's get them for Scott.
It'll make his day. They go to minor league stadiums. We can just find out when they're in Brooklyn.
Yeah, they do. They do the indoor football league.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. He's also a huge Seattle Seahawks fan, and let's face it, his team is going to be even better this year.
You know, I read something this morning. Marshawn Lynch should be the #1 overall pick. And that was at ESPN, and I'm sure there are caveats. I read the whole thing. It made a good point. Marshawn Lynch is a first-rounder.
Yep.
But not #1 overall, right?
Not #1 overall. And, you know, now this will be my 3rd year drafting. I understand that sometimes you expect so much from your #1 player, like Mike Calvin Johnson last year, and then an injury changes everything. So it's more looking at your team and know what you want for your team. Don't just make that jump. Some really strange picks in the draft yesterday, of course, we all know, but I'm surprised people are looking at DeMarco Murray as if he's any different. I mean, being in the Eagles offense is going to be even better for him than it was in Dallas. And they're just as sketchy with quarterbacks as it was last year. You know, I took him because I knew Romo, coming off back surgery, would use that running back more than he would use his arm. So that was why I went with DeMarco instead of Dez. And, you know, you look at it this year, he's going to fit right in there in Eagles. And I'm going to go to some camps this year so I can really be able to give you guys some good insight.
Oh, my God. You've turned into a monster. What is... Wow.
Sorry.
No, this is great.
Yeah.
I have turned into a monster.
Yeah, most of us fantasy guys are stuck in our basement and you're going to camps.
Yeah, it's the best thing to do. It's all research.
Are you bringing Ronas on the road with you?
You know, we're gonna go on the road a little bit. Yep.
Oh,
yep.
God, that'd be the best thing ever.
We talked about it yesterday.
To see Ronas awkwardly interviewing, I'm sorry I've talked crap about you for
gonna
8
happen
years on the
this year.
radio, but
Yeah. How is it working with Adam Ronas? We see him on the Fantasy Sports Network 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern. What is
and Lisa Ann does fantasy, 10 p.m. Mondays Eastern.
Yeah, but it's not on TV.
I know.
True.
Well, we could tell people where to go and take care of Lisa Ann.
It's a great idea to have the Ronas and Angle show on TV,
I feel like
but the
we
Ronas
need
and Lisa
Bloody
Ann.
Marys.
You know what? Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Cheat day.
You know what's kind of crazy, right? We put Scott Angle on TV, Lisa Ann not. What happened there?
It could happen.
All right.
We're just waiting it out.
It's
We're waiting for
happening.
it right after. It's happening right now. You know, Adam and I clicked like the second we met. Matt Deutsch really knew that we would be a good fit. We're both Cowboys fans, which that takes weirdness to a whole new level because, you know, Cowboys fans are like no other fans. We still believe that we're winners even though we haven't won since the 90s. Like, you know, it's really fun to be a Cowboys fan. So we had that in common. We both love basketball. He's just a really cool, down-to-earth guy. And now he's like my best friend. I can't, you know, we text when I'm not here, and I love him to death.
You both have awesome ponytails.
We both have awesome ponytails.
Yes.
But my ponytail doesn't have its own Twitter account. I mean, that's so wrong. It does.
You know what's crazy? I'm going to ask her a question. The answer's going to be yes. You're a celebrity outside of fantasy sports, so I'm going to ask you, have you ever met the Dallas Cowboys owner, Jerry Jones?
I haven't yet.
Really? I'm surprised.
I hope I will this year. I would like to talk to him at camp.
Now, being a fan, though, what advice would you give him? Like, would you be tough on him, or how would you handle that?
Keep on keeping
I would
on.
just like to talk him into enjoying his life right now. Like, hire somebody great at what they do, retire, travel the world, maybe go on a 365-day cruise where we can just reach you when you're at port once a week. I believe that you have enough money to pay the right people to make all the decisions necessary, and that you should enjoy your life now. He's worked hard. Why does he have to be schlepping to the stadium every week, you know? He should be getting massages on Sunday mornings and having some woman feed him verbally what happened in the game. Like someone could just narrate it to him, you know? I'd like to see him a little bit one step removed from the team. I think that it's probably really hard to be a coach. It's really hard to be a manager. It's really hard to be that close. You're being micromanaged all the time.
Before we let you go, Joseph Randle versus Darren Mcfadden in your backfield there. Which way are you going to go? Or do you have to go both?
I would go neither. You know, I think I would go Randle if I had to, but his off-field issues do concern me. We know that will always be a problem. I don't see Mcfadden being that much of a better fit in Dallas, being that his value just dropped over the past 2 or 3 years. I mean, I've used him once or twice in a daily, and not that much has come out of it. It could happen, but I don't think Dez is going to let it happen, and I wouldn't go there.
She's the host of Lisa Ann Does Fantasy, SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio, 10 p.m. Eastern on Mondays with Adam Ronas at The Real Lisa Ann.
At The Real Lisa Ann.
And then like TRLA.com.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, and a comedy show in New York.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be making people laugh now, which I think I'll be good at.
July the 17th.
July 17th.
And then
the Comedy
August.
Club, New York Comedy Club.
Check it out. Lisa Ann, thank you for joining us. Coverage continues of the Fantasy Sports Trade Association Summer Conference after this.